I never thought I'd be the type of guy to get blindsided like this, but here we are. My name's Jake, and I'm 32 years old. I've been married to Lisa for about 5 years now, and until recently I honestly thought we had a pretty solid relationship. She's gorgeous, smart, a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Things started to feel off a few months ago, though. Lisa's been acting weird, secretive, always on her phone, hiding her screen when I come close. I'd catch her glancing around nervously if I asked her about where she was going or who she was talking to. She'd brush it off with that typical bitchy attitude, telling me I was paranoid or imagining things. She's always been good at lying, so I didn't think much of it at first. I just figured she was stressed or maybe bored with the routine. But then, things got worse. There was that one night. She came home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. When I asked her about it, she snapped, saying I was being paranoid that she'd been out with her friends. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. I tried to brush it off, but the seed of doubt was planted. I started paying closer attention. Little things, her disappearing into the bathroom for long periods, her texting under the table during dinner, her changing her passwords on her phone. She'd get defensive if I tried to look at her messages, saying I was a jealous asshole. That's when I knew something was up, but I didn't want to face it. Not yet. Then one day, I stumbled across what I should have known was right in front of me all along. I found hotel receipts in her purse, dates that coincided with her excuses about work trips or girls' nights out. But the hotels weren't the usual spots she'd go to with her friends. They were nicer, more private places. And there were charges on our joint credit card for strange dinners and late-night drinks that she didn't tell me about. My stomach sank. I felt sick. I started digging through her phone when she wasn't around, and what I found shattered me completely. Texts with some guy, calling each other babe, talking about spending the night together, and even plans to meet up at a hotel next weekend. I saw pictures she had sent him, her in sexy lingerie, her dressed up for some secret rendezvous. I was numb. I couldn't believe it. Lisa, the woman who swore she loved me, was screwing around with my brother, my own flesh and blood. That's when I knew this wasn't just a fling, this was betrayal on a level I didn't think was possible. I didn't sleep that night. I felt a rage I'd never known before. My mind was racing. How long has this been going on? How did I miss the signs? Why her? Why my brother? I couldn't even look at her without feeling this mix of disgust and heartbreak. She'd always been cold and bitchy, but I never thought she'd do something like this during my pregnancy. I'm 4 months along now. It's like our entire life together was a lie, and I was just too blind or stupid to see it. The betrayal cuts deep, and honestly, I don't even know how I'm still standing. The next morning, I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know, especially now that I had seen everything. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. My hands were shaking, my stomach twisting in knots. I told her I needed to talk, and she looked at me with that fake innocent smile that she always used when she knew she was about to lie her ass off. She said she was tired of my accusations, that I was paranoid, that I was imagining things because I didn't trust her. She had that snarky tone, like she was annoyed I was making a fuss over nothing. I told her I'd seen the receipts, the texts, the charges, the hotel stays, and she just rolled her eyes. She started calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, that she'd never do something so disgusting during my pregnancy. She told me I was possessive and jealous and that I was pushing her away, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I wasn't going to just brush this under the rug. I wanted the truth. She finally snapped, started yelling at me, throwing out all those bullshit excuses. How she needed excitement, how she felt neglected, how she was just having sex with my brother because we'd been arguing lately and she was lonely. She made it sound like it was just some stupid mistake, like she was entitled to cheat because she was bored. I felt my blood boil. How could she be so cold, so callous? She swore she loved me. She said she'd never do anything to hurt me, especially not during my pregnancy, and yet she was out screwing around with the very person I trusted most. I looked at her, eyes narrowing, and told her I wanted her out of the house. I told her I didn't want to see her face anymore, that she was dead to me. She just sneered, telling me I was overreacting again, that I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that I'd regret pushing her away. That's when I decided I couldn't sit around and wait for her to keep lying. I needed to know everything, how long this had been going on, what my brother knew, what she'd done with him. I needed to see every detail because I realized this was about more than just betrayal. It was about my entire sense of trust and security collapsing in front of me. The fact that she'd been lying, cheating, and hiding things from me during my pregnancy, while I was supposed to be preparing for our child, made me feel sick. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so stupid. It all hit me hard, and I knew this was only the beginning of something explosive. After that showdown, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every time I looked at Lisa, I saw a stranger, cold, calculating, and completely disregardful of what she'd done. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. All I could think about was the betrayal, how she lied so effortlessly, how she kept secrets, and that she'd been screwing my brother behind my back while I was trying to build a family. It was like my entire world had shattered, and I was left to piece it back together with broken shards of trust and heartbreak. I decided I had to get some proof, more than just her word, more than the texts and receipts. I needed her to slip up, to give herself away. So I installed a hidden app on her phone. It wasn't about spying, it was about catching her in her own lies. I knew she'd be careful, but I also knew she liked to talk about her plans, her lies. I set it up to record her calls and messages, and I waited. The tension was unbearable. Every day I was on edge, waiting for her to screw up again or slip into her usual bitchy attitude when she thought she was safe. And sure enough, I caught her. One afternoon, she was on the phone with my brother. I could hear her voice from the other room, sharp, sarcastic, casual. The way she talked, the words she used, it was clear she was planning something. She told him she was tired of the secret life, that she wanted to leave me, that she didn't care anymore, that she was done pretending to be the perfect wife. The worst part, she said she wanted to keep seeing him, keep having sex with him, and that she didn't care about the consequences. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. How could she be so cold, so ruthless? I listened to the entire conversation, seething. When she finally hung up, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I needed to confront her again, but this time I was ready. I knew what she was planning, and I had a plan of my own. I wasn't just going to sit back and let her walk all over me. I wanted her to see I wasn't some naive fool anymore. That night I waited until she was asleep, then I took my phone and recorded her talking to him. I needed irrefutable proof, something I could show her, something that would make her realize I wasn't playing anymore. When I finally brought her in for a talk, I laid everything out. The receipts, the recordings, all of it. Her face twisted into that bitchy sneer I'd grown to hate. She started lying, of course, saying I was crazy, that I'd been spying on her for months, that I was just jealous. But I had enough now. I told her she could keep lying, but I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I told her she'd crossed the line and I was done. I wanted her gone, and I wanted her out of my life for good. That's when she threw a tantrum, screaming about how she was done with me, how I was controlling, and that she'd leave when she was ready. The next few days were like living in a nightmare. Lisa refused to leave, throwing her tantrums and calling me all sorts of names. She kept insisting she was doing this for herself, that she needed to be free, that I was just jealous and paranoid. Meanwhile, I was gathering everything I needed, more proof, documents, and a plan. I knew I couldn't let this drag on forever. I had to do something definitive, something that would make her realize she couldn't keep playing her games. One morning I woke up and found her gone. Her bags were packed and her car was gone too. I looked at the clock and realized she'd finally left, probably because she knew I was serious. But instead of feeling relief, I just felt empty. A part of me was completely broken. I'd been blindsided by her lies, her betrayal, especially during my pregnancy. I'd trusted her with everything, my heart, my future, and she'd been sleeping with my own brother behind my back. I took a deep breath and started making arrangements. I contacted a lawyer, prepared to file for separation. I told her I wanted her out of the house for good, that I wasn't going to let her ruin everything anymore. I also reached out to my brother, who was trying to deny everything at first but eventually broke down and admitted he'd been sleeping with Lisa for months. That was the hardest thing to hear, knowing that my own brother had betrayed me like that, especially while I was carrying his niece or nephew. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and disgust. The hardest part was confronting the reality that I had been nothing but naive. I kept replaying the moments I missed, the signs I ignored, and the times I excused her bitchy attitude because I thought she was just stressed or tired. But the truth was she never loved me the way I thought she did. She was selfish, manipulative, and a liar. She swore she loved me, but her actions proved otherwise. And now I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life, trying to figure out how to move forward with a broken heart and a lot of questions. I realized I was angry mostly at myself for not seeing it sooner. How could I not see the signs? How could I let her manipulate me like that? But at the same time, I understood that trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's impossible to repair it the same way. I decided I wouldn't try to save this mess. I'd rather start over, rebuild what I can, and focus on my future, my child, my health, myself. I knew I'd need time to heal, but deep down I also knew this was a wake-up call. If I'd been blind to her lies, I'd never let myself be blindsided like that again. Now, as I sit alone in this empty house, I feel a strange mix of relief and despair. I've learned that love can be a lie. Sometimes the person you trust the most is the one who hurts you the deepest. But I also know I'll survive. I have to. And someday, I'll find someone who actually deserves my trust. That's what I keep telling myself. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I spent a lot of time reflecting, trying to make sense of everything. The betrayal cut so deep that even now, I find myself questioning if I ever really knew her at all. Lisa was the kind of woman who could turn on. The charm who could act like she loved you one minute and then stab you in the back the next. That bitchy attitude, the lies, the sneaking around. She was good at hiding who she really was, but no more. I saw through it now. Once I had everything documented and the lawyer on board, I moved quickly. The house was no longer her home. I filed for divorce, citing adultery and emotional cruelty. I wanted to be done with her, completely cut her out of my life. Honestly, I didn't know how I would ever trust anyone again after this, especially not a woman I'd loved so much. I was angry, yes. Hurt, definitely. But I also felt a strange sense of relief that I had finally taken control. One thing I did not expect was the way I felt toward my brother. I'd always thought of him as family, someone I'd trusted. But now that trust was gone. I confronted him, face to face, and he broke down crying. He admitted that he'd fallen for Lisa's lies, that he'd been blinded by his own feelings and had no idea how much he was hurting me. I wanted to scream at him, tell him how betrayed I felt, but I just walked away. I couldn't look at him without feeling a surge of rage and disgust. This whole ordeal made me realize just how fragile relationships are and how easy it is for people to betray you when you least expect it. As I went through the divorce proceedings, I started focusing on myself, my health, my future, and the baby I was carrying. I knew I had to be strong for him or her. I also started seeing a therapist, someone to help me process everything. The anger didn't go away overnight, but slowly I was learning how to channel it. I knew I couldn't change what happened, but I could control how I responded. I refused to let her and my brother ruin my entire life. Eventually, the divorce was finalized. Lisa was gone, she moved out, and I never heard from her again. It's been months now, and I'm still healing. I won't lie, I'm haunted by everything that happened. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about her, about what I lost. But I also know I've gained something, clarity. I learned to see through the lies, to trust myself again, and to never let anyone treat me like that ever again. Most importantly, I learned that betrayal is the end of the world. It's just a painful chapter in my story. I still have a long way to go, but I'm determined to rebuild, to trust again when I'm ready, and to be stronger than ever. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to understand, it's that no matter how bad it gets, you can survive it. You just have to be willing to face the truth, no matter how ugly it may be. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown from this nightmare. The betrayal by Lisa, especially during my pregnancy, shattered my trust in love and made me question everything I thought I knew about loyalty. But in a strange way, it also forced me to confront my own strength. I never thought I'd be able to survive something so devastating, but here I am. Still standing, still breathing, still fighting to rebuild my life. The hardest part was accepting that some people aren't who they pretend to be. Lisa was manipulative from the start. She knew how to act, how to pretend she loved me, how to keep her secrets hidden. Her bitchy attitude was just a mask. All the lies, the cheating, the secret hotel stays, they all exposed her true nature. I've learned that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to protect yourself first, especially when someone is willing to betray you during your most vulnerable moments. Since the divorce, I've focused on healing. I've started to open up to new people, though I'm cautious now. I've learned that trust isn't given blindly anymore, it's earned. I've also been working on forgiving myself, because I battered myself with guilt for not seeing the signs sooner, for not acting faster. But I know now that nobody is perfect. People are complicated and sometimes they hide who they really are until it's too late. To anyone out there going through something similar, just know you're not alone. It hurts like hell and it's okay to feel broken for a while, but don't let it define you. Use it as fuel to become stronger. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Never settle for less, even if it's tempting to stay in a toxic situation to avoid loneliness. Trust your instincts and don't be afraid to walk away from people who don't deserve you. Today, I'm learning to trust again, slowly but surely. And I know I'll find happiness, maybe not with her or my brother, but somewhere out there. Someone who won't lie, cheat, or betray me. Someone who will love me for who I am, scars and all. That's what I've come to understand from this mess. Betrayal hurts, yes, but it also teaches you to stand tall, to cherish what's real, and to never let anyone take away your peace. Life isn't about perfection, it's about resilience, and I plan to keep fighting for mine every day.